preparations in England for the airborne operations of 17th September. The 1st Allied Airborne Army, under Lieutenant General Louis H. Brereton, is ready to take off from scores of fields to invade the Rhine Delta of the Netherlands. The forces participating in the largest assault of its kind are the U.S. 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, veterans of the D-Day landings in Normandy, also the British 1st Airborne Division. The paratroopers are loaded into hundreds of C-47 transports. They were preceded by a vast fleet of bombers and fighters which softened up the Dutch invasion area. Train takes off toward the English Channel and heads for Holland. Landings are scheduled to be made north of Eindhoven, southeast of Nijmegen, and west of Arnhem. On English airfields, gliders are lined up to receive their assigned troops. This particular group constitutes a signal company. They'll be responsible for establishing a division command post and setting up a communication system. At H 140 minutes, they'll land in Holland slightly north of the town of Zaan. Last-minute instructions are issued as they await the takeoffs. The gliders, towed by C-47s, carry field tanks, hospital equipment, and numerous items necessary for a self-contained army. Winging across the channel. The vast inundated plains of Holland, where Nazis opened the dikes to provide barriers against land invasion. The airborne attack is aimed at the rivers of the Netherlands that form a natural protective front for the weakest part of Fortress Germany. Reaching a point near Eindhoven, the gliders cut away from the tow planes and come down for the landings. The airborne troops quickly consolidate their initial objectives. Entering the town of Zahn, 18th September. Formations of Dakota aircraft fly over the town of Geel in northern Belgium after completing missions near the Dutch frontier. The flights coincide with the Allied airborne invasion. One of the planes has been hit and is gradually losing altitude. Crew bailed out. Other Second Army troops passed burning wreckage en route to Eindhoven for the junction with men of the 1st Allied Airborne Army who landed on the 17th. Eindhoven was captured soon after the first American paratroopers touched Dutch soil. All important bridges in the area also were secured. Entering Eindhoven, where they pick up some of the American troops, the British push on northward toward Nijmegen. They cover the 33 miles in 5 hours and reach the outskirts of Nijmegen at 1200 hours on the 19th. The important bridge across the Vaal River was kept intact. A regiment of the U.S. 82nd Airborne Division crossed the river in assault boats to overcome the German defenders. Explosives were already in place for the destruction of the span. British engineers removed the charges. Seizure of the bridge without mishap constitutes an important victory, for without it, the Vaal River would have been a formidable obstacle. British armor passes over the bridge as the Allies continue the drive aimed at cutting around the enemy's defenses before northwestern Germany. An air train wings toward the Eindhoven-Nijmegen area of Holland with supplies and reinforcements following initial landings of the 1st Allied Airborne Army. Dropping supplies just south of Nijmegen. Here, airborne infantrymen are engaged in securing important bridges and flanking the northern anchor of the Siegfried Line. During the entire Netherlands airborne operation, American planes and gliders alone carried nearly 6 million pounds of supplies and equipment. The following scenes were made with a camera strapped to the chest of a parachutist. A heavy concentration of anti-aircraft fire brings further losses in Allied planes, indicating a vigorous attempt on the part of the enemy to stem an Allied drive north from Nijmegen. Glider planes bring in reinforcements to help broaden the Eindhoven-Nijmegen corridor and attempt to establish contact with encircled elements of the British 1st Airborne Division on the north bank of the Lek River. Operating with British forces during the whole period of the airborne invasion were nearly 6,000 American planes and gliders. Of this number, less than 3% were lost, despite fierce enemy opposition.